Reframing Mindset podcast, where I clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframe Mindset Podcast. My name is Constant Brooks, and this episode we talk about fourth year of the internship experience. I'm going to talk about. Let's talk about all the stuff that I actually learned so far, instead of what I'm experiencing. Now, this is just basically the whole thing at once. Yeah, so far, what I've realized is that you know there's stuff that you actually have to keep track of. Like I bought a lot of stuff, so go out there, so working, somewhat sustain myself, and I bought a lot of stuff. And what I've realized is that one of the things that made me actually lose money in this journey was the fact that, like, the first world problem or first basic problem. Once actually live now, here the thing, like, I can't find my remote. It's under the couch. I checking the couch, all those stuff. Yeah, those issues are actually legit. Yeah, I'm losing stuff. I talk about bought earpods and stuff. Going to work, and I can barely prepare for work. I barely could prepare for work. Like, I barely could, because every day there's like those are stuff that I experience where be like, oh, you're in the place, but it takes a while. You have to actually actively go out and prepare for these stuff, like legit, like like it's, I guess there's thing we call fashionably late and all these stuff. Sometimes these are one of the stuff where be like, yo, sometimes actually better be late and right, bro. That be wrong and early and wrong, bro. Like sometimes, yeah, late and right and early and wrong, early and wrong. That's the phase you're actually going to in this sport. You're like, yo, you legit out here, so managing a home. So first, next thing is like the backyard. I talked about last year. We experienced our routine and stuff like that. So now the backyard isn't cleared up. So that actually go out. And if you actually remember, listen to the episode, I talked about like 37 days I'm always trying to clean a backyard because what? I can't find the right rake. And I still have the same issue now in this year where I actually have the rake issue. But I guess it's a better rig. But the stick issue is actually still there, right? So it's like the same problem. But we are just trying to figure that out. Like, what is the right rig? What is the right thing to use? And it's like, well, yeah, that is actually wow. A big tree falling down, all these stuff. Like, yeah, this is actually what I'm experiencing the fourth year. And then no, so I talk about also getting an animal, but what I'm investing in. Like, if you realize, boom, one of the journey was that my issues with dogs. And be like, okay, you know what, you never know that I might actually get a dog or stuff like that. One of the thing now is chickens, bro. The chicken. Like every time I open the door, a chicken comes in and do the inside of the home, bro. That they keep the door closed and all these. So these are actually stuff I'm experiencing the fourth year of home ownership. And you realize that, yeah, the and that's the back release back to the episode we talk about what is a luxury to others is a privilege to what you feel is a luxury is a privilege they actually work for. So these are the steps that you this I'm experiencing now that you feel like, okay, now you see the results. Now you see, then one day you come in and see me with my dog out there, so chilling out, playing, mowing the lawn, all these stuff, living that first world, are the stereotypical first world life, but you don't see these days, days when I'm out there, so forgetting to lock the door and the chicken comes in, do up the whole place. Next thing again, I'm out there so cooking food, and I'm out there so if I leave the food for a second, the chicken comes in and eat some of the food that I'm preparing. All these stuff that I'm experiencing. So imagine that with a chicken. Imagine that with a dog or a cat or stuff like that. These are the actual stuff that I'm actually experiencing. These are the stuff with a chicken. So it's like, and the thing about it is that you don't want to be animal cruelty and go just killing chickens, bro. You don't want to be that, but you never know. You never know, bro. That's the thing. It's chicken. So these are the issues that are out there. So experiencing. So you have to actually do things to medic to in to keep inside of the home, and outside of the home, outside of the home. These are the issues you actually experience in the fourth year of home ownership. Where be like, yeah, you have to separate the inside from the outside now. And that's the reason why I be like sometimes I break off the work, or sometimes sometimes actually you're working and you get the things that you pray for, you actually have to stop to get acclimated to the level that you're at. So sometimes you'll be like, oh yes, or I'll be like, oh yes, I achieved my MSc in that and stuff like that. You have to take the time to get acclimated in being IMSc or BSc. You have to actually take time to be acclimated to be that person. You be like, yeah, yeah. You don't just become it and be like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the thing where you be like, yeah, book smart and read smart. You know, oh, it's a boom, pass couple test, pass couple. Yeah, actually, I have to do this something. Yeah, I talk about pass couple tests and stuff like that. Actually, with the idea from being free, it's like legit amount. There's a research details of stuff. It actually says it's actually wild. It's actually wild. So yeah, pass couple tests and stuff. Yeah. Actually, you reach a point where you actually have to start doing these stuff in real life. Like, yeah. So that's the reason why I be like, oh, I graduated from 2018, but I didn't, but then I didn't even know podcast exists. But then I didn't care about getting, the iPhone and the break or stuff like that, but I didn't really care about that now and be like, okay, yeah, I'm actually interested in getting an iPhone and all these stuff. And the reason why it was back then was because I was not as rich as I was now. And even though I am, and that's the thing where sometimes I record this episode, and this is the point actually reaching these times now, where I reach this time. You have to actually remember that I was not this rich before. That's the reason why I sometimes actually, yeah, when I record this episode, even the listener, yeah, at one point I was not this rich. That's the thing where I be like, yeah, I have to remember those days. That, yeah, at one point I wasn't this rich, and sometimes I forgot that, bro. And what happened is that career is a luxury I talk about. I get acclimated to a certain level that much that it feels easy, but sometimes you have to remember that there was a point in time where I was not that person. There was a time where I was not acclimated to that level. But what happens is that I get acclimated easier and easier. It becomes easier and easier because I compound interest and compound learning all those episodes. All the fact that I could actually regurgitate episodes from way back when, from way back when, those are stuff I be like, wow, in 2025 I'm actually able to do that. Those are luxuries that so I'm actually able to regurgitate episodes from way back when. When back in the university days, I'm always studying for years, just to even and then going the exam and actually crash and stuff like that, and lose all those knowledge. So that's the thing I have to actually remember. I be like, yeah, those are stuff back in the days. Those are luxuries that I didn't have back in the days that you hear me have now. I be like, yeah, I actually do. Sometimes be like, I actually remind myself, yeah, I did have these luxuries. Yeah, so sometimes he will complain about some stuff, and I'll be like, yeah, certain things we actually didn't have before. Like, next thing you hear talking about, oh yeah, start talking about storage and stuff like that. So I'm always talking about upgrading the phone. The first thing I have to speak about is like big tech companies or whatever. Like, big tech companies, data is their currency. That's how they actually make money now. Big tech companies, data. So data is your currency. They use your data. So the important thing is now actually how to store your data. Like, this upgrading your phone, and that's what separates things. Why you have why in 2025 now, boom, certain things are you can complain and be like, oh my god, the 90s were so much better, like, with the PS1 and all these stuff, and I would actually go back and be like, but what happened is that our console people, like console wars and stuff like that. One of the things that actually make 2025 or these days better is, you know two things: cross compatibility. Back in the game, as I said, there were days where I didn't have a party. So these are the stuff where I be like, I usually see them. I hear when they just come out, it was revolutionary. It was revolutionary, but they didn't understand the full understand of what revolutionary was until it actually become. And be like, yeah, these are. I remember the days that we actually did have this. So what happens now? Boom. I talk about the issue that I'm on this. I'm finally able to upgrade a phone or stuff like that, or upgrade and I say cross compatibility with a game in a console. That's revolutionary in that, but applying in real life or stuff like that. Where be like, yeah, you there was a point in time where you could afford to even buy a different phone. You have to go back and buy different kind of phone. But boom, you're out there saying compound interest. Your compound are able to actually do these stuff, do this stuff. All of a sudden you realize that you're there, so boom, or you weren't social at all. You weren't a social person. You'd be like, I didn't care what kind of phone you have or stuff like that. Boom, all of a sudden you're out there, so getting messages and stuff like that. People are there to message you. So now you actually out there to message and stuff, and they have actual good conversation, all these stuff. Be like, oh my god, no, I actually care about a phone now and all these stuff. I care about gaming and all these stuff and phone. Then they say, okay, now that I actually have that, now we actually have to save, because every time I upgrade a phone now, the conversation, everything gone. So back in the days, yeah, everything is gone. Everything is gone. It's like, so you have to actually go there and remember those stuff. You actually go there and remember those stuff. Now we have WhatsApp, and that's the thing we're talking about in this year. You have to actually learn the features of stuff now. That is the difference between amateur and pros and stuff like that. Learning the features of stuff. The features. Boom, you take your time actually go out and say, okay, yeah, I will actually actively out there and learn how to save messages and stuff like that. Learn to save stuff. Then I go out there to learn to save stuff. Then now you learn how to transfer stuff from one thing to another. Actually, I learn to do that now. Then now you can actually go and be like, okay, yeah. Now upgrading a phone becomes so easy. A caveman could do it. Yeah, I'm talking about the guy. Yeah. So yeah, so that's the thing where I be like, yeah, that's how simple things get upgraded. Where I be like, you take your time to acknowledge the issue. I be like, yeah, know that back in the days, bro, we didn't care about what kind of phone we have, bro, because only the core you first we have the core chat. Now we actually have we're growing. So now we actually have to save the stuff. And not only growing and stuff like that. Remember it is boom, you never couldn't even get a girl. No, yo, this is getting 10 million. Switch to the latest thing. Now. Back in the days, there were BBM and all this stuff. Blackberry and all this. So that's the thing where be like, oh yes. Now we actually have to actively go and try to catch up with the time and all these stuff. We actually go out and be like, yeah. When they come in and talk about iPhone and stuff like that, I'll be like, oh my god, I have an iPhone too and all these stuff. So we actually have to go and actually do this stuff. So what happens now? So back in those, so because they actually have to do this stuff now. So back in the days, you did not have those. You didn't care about that now. Now you care about that now. So what happens is that are with everything, you have to be able to transfer every single thing from one phone to another. And when you upgrade everything, you transfer things to another. And what happens is that you actively do that first time, then it actually becomes easier every time. Because what happens is that you're gonna realize that certain stuff were established before. So each upgrade, certain things were established before. And be like, yeah, we don't have to update or go out and do this again. Because certain things were established before, we don't have to do this again. We just go out and say, oh, we don't upgrade. The upgrades become easier because we acknowledge that, yeah, storage and all these stuff, we out this after that, be able to do that. But once we acknowledge that, now we have this, acknowledge that, yeah, we out this have to do that, and then we just, that becomes a luxury. They just have to do it over and over. Then then you focus on getting the phone. Just getting the phone that everybody was, the latest product that everybody was getting. I actually focus on getting the latest product now. Then you actually understand the two things. Now. Like, oh yeah, you actually need this now. Then we need the latest product. Then what happens now when we get the latest product now? That company rise and be like, okay, we actually have money now to actually build a different product. Then you hear another flagship thing, and I'd be like, oh my god, okay. Now everybody was talking on the other phone. I'm like, oh no, we actually have to go now and actually get the other latest phone again. So what happens that now it becomes easy now. So now you actually realize that yeah, you have to establish that storage is all the thing now. Now we actually have to go out and trade and all these stuff. And then now what happens that so I talked about all those stuff lessons before. And what happened now is the way to upgrade stuff becomes easier. So what happens so that's basically where it be like, yeah. The luxuries that you this is people is crazy is what a yeah, our person bashing you for was a privilege that you actually had to work for and then now it's a privilege. No it's a privilege or no it's a luxury. And be like, yeah. But there was a point in time where we did have this. There was a point in time where we did have this. So it's like, yeah, so it's like it's a luxury now, but there was a point in time where that we actually did have this. So it's like this. So now that we actually have this now, I know that we actually have having the luxury. No, we actually have to go out and try to maintain the luxury. So that's the thing in the fourth year now. Boom, now the shower isn't working as well. And what I realized now, boom, my family came in and helped me clean up the stuff. And what I realized, and the same thing I talk about again came back, bro. I realized that, bro, I have a perfectly good deodorant. No, I don't have any deodorant now, so I have to actually go out and buy extra deodorant so I could be hygienic. Because they threw away the deodorant. So yeah, so, so because of that now, I have to actually actively be out there to clean up the home, bro. So when they actually come, they they don't have anything to clean up, so things like this don't happen, bro. So I don't come here and be like, oh my god, I miss my deodorant and all these stuff. So these are stuff you actually experience in the fourth year. Where it be like you actually have to clean up the stuff, them, and like actually go out and clean up the stuff. Like when I actually do it now, you get the baseline of what you need to do. And be like, yeah. Then you can actually spend money now and invest stuff. And things in the fourth year is that things are actually so what will happen is that I talk about the fourth year for a moment. there's a point in time you weren't a homeowner, so you were actually not buying home stuff. So that's the thing. We'll be like, yeah, yeah, you at one point you were actually not a, or you're actually not. At one point you were actually not a business owner, or one point you were employed. Weren't an employee. So what means that you're gonna carry, you're gonna be carrying employee employee stuff into the home. And it's like, uh, uh, so that you're gonna actually realize, you'll be like, oh, so that's the reason sometimes I actually come into the home and I contemplate if it's actually a home, because I'm like, wow, was I actually a homeowner? Bro? Sometimes I come into the home and realize I don't actually ask myself if this was actually a home. So that was the thing, was mm, something that were laughable in the first year, and second year it actually becomes not laughable in the first. Yeah, it'd be like, yeah, it's like, yeah, coming here is like, yeah, these stuff are actually legit stuff. So it's like, that's the experience you actually come in. When you actually come in and see your home, you're going to be like, oh yeah, there's a point in time where I was basically a student, as now I'm somewhat an adult after actually think about this stuff. But you're gonna realize that each year, and this you're gonna actually realize going to the fourth year and stuff like that, you're out there to bringing certain stuff into to a different place. Are you bringing home, not home issues into the work? Are you bringing work issues home and all these stuff? And you're gonna realize that something I want to be like, is this a home, bro? Or is this a work? Are you they say, I'm going to pursue my MSc and be like, is this an institution? Is this a you can go to work and be like, is this a university, bro? Come on, you bring a university stuff to the work and stuff like that. Like, be like, yeah, so that's the thing that you're gonna approach in this year. Be like, the thing about career as a luxury, you're going to this is the weird phase now where you actually say, okay, back in the days we didn't back in the days we didn't have a home. Now we have a home now. Now we actually have a bachelor of science or stuff like that. Now we actually have it. Should we actually just get rid of everything related to BSc from high school, go straight from primary school, and just establish this base that yes, no, we are a homeowner now. So that is the thing actually coming and be like, yeah, we actually achieve these stuff. So we must start throw away every single thing related to these stuff now. No, these stuff is actually not relevant anymore. And that's the thing we actually be like, yeah, the yeah, and that's stuff where we be like, wow, I actually work hard for this stuff. I know you're telling me to throw away every single thing related to this stuff just to get something new. It's like, yeah. So that's the thing actually approaching this fourth year. My experience in doing this stuff will be like, yeah, at one point I was not this person. Sometimes I actually go back to my home, man. And this is the funny thing now. Sometimes I go back to the home that I actually grew up and be like, oh yeah, I'm chilling out and it feels so nice. And I go back into the home and be like, why in the world did I actually leave this home? Then leave the home. Then I actually have to leave the home and come back to my home now. I mean, I come back to my home now. I chill out in the bed and be like, oh my god, this place is. Even though I leave my home, I actually put in the work to make this home as a home. So sometimes, be like, you can't tell if you were actually making progress. What you can do is go back to where you were before and then come back. I ain't going to be like, wow, we actually made progress because, you know, back in the days I didn't want to leave my house. And then no, I leave my house and come to the next house. And it still feels like my house. It still feels like at home, a home away from home. So it's like, yeah. Sometimes you actually did not, you're not making progress. You have to just go back to where you was before and then come back and be like, oh wow, we actually was, we actually did a change. It was actually, it's just that sometimes you have to acknowledge the place that you're at now. So sometimes be like, yeah, we're talk about perspective of experience. So me now we say, yeah, okay, I'm in my 40th home ownership now. My grandmother, our grandmother says 58 years. I own it, and my name is on the title and all these stuff. And all her stories would make sense because well, she was been here for centuries, for years. So all her thing would I go to you go to university in 2015 like me, and you meet a lecturer. She wasn't once at one point she wasn't a lecturer, and she coming out and she said something like, so I talk about you, and she said something like, "Oh my God, my son knows so." We're out here struggling to learn amino acids or stuff like that, and he's like, "Oh my God, my son is 5." Oh, yes. Could tell the amino acids in the back of her head or stuff like that, and be like, yeah, 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 because what? Because you actually were putting the work to become. Because at one point she wasn't that. At one point there was a point in time she wasn't. Like, even though she out there so, talking about how prodigy her family is in that area. I can tell you that there was a point in time she wasn't, or that person wasn't that, or So there was a point. So what happens that because there was a point that there wasn't that. What happens that they actually got it, and once they got it, they do something like they actually maintain that level now. So now the family now is a family of prodigies that know amino acids, bro. Because she actually come in and be like, there's a point in time we actually didn't know about amino acids. Now everybody in the family now know about amino acids. You don't kind of forget about amino acids. But I know atoms, hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron. So now everybody in the family knows about atoms. Now everybody know hydrogen, helium, boron. Now everybody knows the first 20. Now everybody in my family knows the first 20 elements of the periodic table. You know, and now everybody knows that. And it's like, yeah. So that lecturer family now, when we go to university, that lecturer out there is boasting about how everybody, her family knows. I mean, acids, bro. You know, now what I can change now is that my family knows the first 20 elements of the periodic table, bro. That becomes a look here, like, yeah. Back in the days, Jamaica didn't know about these stuff, bro. Now everybody knows. I didn't care about it. But yeah, now everybody knows and cares about it. That's the thing I'd be like, yo. So what means that in the 40-year home ownership you're talking about? So what will happen is that because you actually upgrade, or because a country or certain things upgrade, naturally everything does upgrade now. So now everybody always will become 10 million times smarter, bro. Because you actually acknowledge and say, yeah, these are the levels that we have. So boom. So yeah, now we actually go through a hurricane, have to actually clean up and all these stuff. But actually do with the backyard is actually moving these stuff, making the home more beautification, all these stuff. I think actually what we actually realize is that you learn stuff in university or learn or what happens that back in the days, when I would go to high school and stuff like that. Go to school and I just come home and watch some TV and play my games and all these stuff. And those were the days. Those were the days where you didn't even care about all these knowledge, bro. Alright, once you reach university level and coming on now. And then the family thing that now they start to make a bread, bro. Are people them tell them are talking about privilege? Privilege, but areas that realize that all these knowledge they're not relevant certain places. Certain places that your knowledge is not relevant. But what happened is that what happens is that sometimes it becomes too relevant. And you'll be like, because it becomes too relevant now, maybe not everybody have to throw away every single thing now relating to that thing because what happened now. Everybody knows this now, bro. Everybody knows this now. And it's like, oh, now we actually just have to throw everything related to this now. And it's like, but I work so hard to get it, bro. I work so hard to get this. So that's the thing where I be like, sometimes I hear me struggling to learn how to, like, for example, about some Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I be like, more it's a learning. I remember the days like I struggling to actually get some Yu-Gi-Oh cards and stuff like that. And I buy it and then I buy some more. I become an expert at the game and know what I'm looking for and all these stuff. And it's be like, wow, there was a point in time that we were struggling to actually get these stuff. Now everybody know is a now everybody in the family or everything is a Yu-Gi-Oh expert. And be like, bro, I actually have to take the time to actually learn how to become a Yu-Gi-Oh expert. Now everybody out there says that. So that's the thing where it be like, yeah, my grandma said, yeah, back in the days, bro, I actually have to go out and look for these Bible papers, bro. So when you hear me talking about me all this tearing up Bibles and all this stuff, just turning in our grief and be like, oh my god, bro, yo, this turn, yo, this tearing up all these Bible, bro. You think this Bible grow on trees? Yeah, yeah. So that's the thing where be like in the 40th ownership, yeah, acknowledge certain issues and be like, oh, um, oh, so what was the thing that is I talk about perspective or experience, for so boom, because I mean talking about the 40th ownership, I talk about when I go back to the old home and then come back. When I go back to the old home upgraded. So what happens? I actually took some stuff from the old home and bring down here to actually assist me in the 40th home ownership. And this relates to our episode. What I might require, that's what I realized that. Well, a grandmother did just become a grandmother. I realized that. A wise person did come a wise person. So boom, you're out there, so go to a house. All of a sudden you see whole smart house and all these stuff. At one point this thing wasn't a smart house. Or this thing wasn't a solar house. I fully powered all these stuff. But what happened was that we actually bought some stuff, and we bought some stuff in the time of abundance. We bought some stuff in the time of abundance, and then in the time of shortage, we actually used them, and because we were using them in the time of shortage, we actually save up enough money to actually go out and make an upgrade somewhere, make an upgrade somewhere. So it upgrade didn't make directly to you, but because you were in a time of somebody in a time of abundance make some purchases, and then because they make some purchases in the time of abundance, that's why you talk about bull market and all these stuff. Somebody goes and buy about 10 million ounces and all this stuff. All of a sudden, boom, time of shortage come, and you see everybody all is a drive, You see a bunch of drivers. And everybody out there is a driving out and be like, oh my god, he's out there taking taxi and all these stuff. But what you realize in your time of abundance, that's why sometimes be like, when I was coming out of watching all these stuff and then see my grandma and then tell my grandma, but she was right, but she was wrong. It was like she made some purchases in her time of abundance and be like, yeah, and we were living off the fat of the island. We were out there and be like, yeah. Then a time of shortage come now. A time of shortage come. And what happens is that this is what happens in real life. So because there's a time in shortage. So boom, you go to school and you don't have the latest phone and about this fashion you because everybody have the latest phone. Back in the days, there was a point in time there was no such thing as a smartphone. It was just a phone. Or maybe back in the days we didn't have a phone, we would send letters. And it would be like, yeah. So back in the days, what we call a luxury then, it wasn't a luxury. But because we bought some stuff in the time of abundance, that was investment. That was investment in the future, which should have because we acknowledge that yeah, we're not coming from a rich part. When we in the time of shortage now, certain stuff upgrading and be like, oh yeah, we can't even get this stuff. Or we say, yeah, we can't even have this stuff. We can't even have this stuff. And all these stuff. And this the people this bashing us and saying, these stuff are garbage and all these stuff. All these stuff are garbage. Yeah. So what happens is that in one part of the home, that is it. So what will happen now? We talk about the first thing, upgrade to get the family. The thing is that oh, that was garbage to one person, but it at one home because we actually do it so many. That home is actually not a garbage. That thing was actually not a garbage return. So that's why I'd be like, yeah, so one man trash is another man treasure. Sometimes be like, yeah, right where you talk about shopping, go out and shop stuff. We'll be like, yeah. I gonna relate to our next expert. I think like that. You're gonna realize I make some proclamation in 1 year and try it out and did succeed. I wasn't successful. I'm gonna be like, yeah, it wasn't successful. Our expert told me, yeah, this wasn't the reality. You're gonna realize that certain things weren't possible because an expert, just like everything else, where I go, a doctor have to recertify and all these stuff. An expert in 1 year isn't if a person becomes an expert in vaccinology, bro. And it's because he's an expert in vaccinology. Corona comes and he is the boss being praised, but because he's the only vaccinology in the country now. And it was living off the fat number, living off the fat. I know it's a balling, making millions, bro. Then what happens now is that because he's out there so living off the fat of living its time and did the upgrade, everybody now start to get that's what happened. Everybody now becomes a corona expert. Everybody else to become a corona expert. Everybody knows how to make vaccine now. Vaccinologist now. Everybody becomes a vaccinologist. So once back in the days, he was the only vaccinologist now, and everybody now is a vaccinologist now. Everybody know because we actually go through the pandemic now and people live. Now everybody know about Pfizer, all these stuff, Pfizer, AstraZeneca. Everybody knows about these companies now. Everybody's a vaccine. Everybody knows a vaccinologist now. Everybody now is a vaccinologist. Back in the days, nobody was a scientist. Now everybody knows a scientist. Back in the days, yeah. Or back in the days, if you were out there saying that you were a Christian out there, so condemned to death. You know, everybody always a Christian out there, always a preaching. Everybody always a preaching, making this. And that's why my grandma would say, "Bro, I remember the days, or no, or I remember the days we were slaves, bro." That's why. Oh my god! I remember the days we were slaves, bro. And they say everybody was making slaves a luxury, bro. So that's the thing. I'll be like, yeah. Back in the days, bro. But so what will happen is that I'm coming out. I come out of university. So I come out with my university degree and all these stuff. Talking about I am mighty and all these stuff. And then I go to my grandma and be like, bro, I know. I'm going back to our agreement. Like, bro, when I go back to our agreement, bro, we were once alive, bro. We were once alive. Yeah, so it's like those are it. So it's like so what will happen is that because certain things becomes a luxury, what happens that yo, this are living on the fat of the island and be like, yeah, we're the only thing in the thing because we are the only thing now, yo, that's living off the fat of the island. Then all of a sudden now everybody start to get it. One person start get it, then other person start getting, and then all of a sudden these things aren't a luxury anymore now. So back in the days, becoming a homeowner was a dream. Was a dream. Then all of a sudden now everybody start getting it. One person get it, and then the next person get it, and then all of a sudden everybody like it. So becoming a homeowner now is actually not the thing to boast about. So now me now being a homeowner now and still taking taxi now. Oh, it's you have drivers now. They say why are they taking taxi? Why are they doing farming and all these stuff? Because what happens that these things that you call a luxury, and that thing certain things we call a luxury wasn't a luxury back then. You know, it's a phrase in a luxury that wasn't a luxury back then, and it doesn't wrong to upgrade. Like boom. You, I hear my grandma talk about, oh my god, I would take like 20 cubic cars per day. It's good to acknowledge that. That's why I have a university. That's why I have university, bro. We talk about history. That's why you're going to go to university talk about history. I can actually go back when I go back. I can tell about back in the days, my grandma say she would dig 20 million tumor per day and can't run ahead, bro. Just to make the university people realize that yeah, we don't do this anymore. We ain't do this anymore, bro. But we can show you a PowerPoint of us back in the days doing these stuff. We can show you the PowerPoint of us, digging the tumor back in the days, you know, in the sun. But hey, we ain't going back there anymore. Yeah, so that's the thing. Right? Like, if once you see me and we make it the fifth year, be like, yeah, we were once a first year home owners, and we went to the first year of home owners. But we ain't going back. We ain't going back to the first year of home ownership, bro. We're actually going to a home now. We're gonna go to a different home with the 20 million years of home ownership experience that we have. So that's the thing. I'll be like, um, so make so their things at home, so that when I go abroad, they actually have these stuff. Actually, so they listen at home. So they'll be like, oh yeah. So that's why in the university days now people will call me fancy and spoiled, bro. Because they were spoiling me from back in the days, bro. So those are the things they'll be like, oh, they were they were once, calling me fancy, bro. Even in my poor days, even in my poor days, people used to call me fancy, bro. Like, cause what? You accept when I accept being poor, bro. eh, that's the thing where the family always have built. That's a culture, bro. That's where I develop a culture that even in your poor days, people always have to be calling your names, bro. Like so that's the way I develop a culture, bro. So even in my slave days, bro, people will call me like, "Oh my God, bro, this person is a slave master." Our family develop a culture. So even in our times of we're still above average. So even when we see slaves, bro, we'll be like, bro, they're calling us slave masters. So even our slavery days, they're calling us slave masters, bro. Yeah, so that's the thing because what happens is that you actually work for these privileges. You're out there to work for the fact that yeah, we ain't going back to those slavery days, bro. So we ain't going back to not being a homeowner, bro. We ain't going back there, bro. We ain't going back to it. So even in our homeless state, bro, even in our homeless state, people is having us, calling us homeowner, bro. They see you out on the street sleeping, bro. And they're calling us a homeowner. So that's the reason why, boom, I got a call and they tell me that I could borrow money and stuff like that. It's like, oh my god. Even when I don't have any money, bro, they always offering me. Because what? We learned the lessons, bro. We learned the lessons of the days we didn't have money, bro. That even when they always offering us money, bro. They actually always offering us money because those days, bro, we actually did have money, bro. And it's like, wow, they actually offering us money, bro. To use it because what? We learned the days, we learned the lesson of the days that we did have money, bro. So when we actually have money, bro, even stupid decisions, bro, is is better than the rest, bro. Even because what happens that. So that's the thing in the fourth year. Acknowledging like, this is basically the episode. Like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to being a homeowner. So I talk this episode talk about upgrading security and stuff like that. So what happens that? So going forward, we'll talk about leaving the baggage of 1 year, or the thing that I'm trying to figure out and get it is that each year I don't want all this to be complaining about the thing last year. So boom, like for example, if another hurricane comes, so I talk about the hurricane, I'm trying to clean up from a hurricane, bro. We ain't supposed to be talking about no hurricane problems anymore, bro. What we're supposed to be working on, bro, is like if a earthquake comes now, bro. A earthquake comes now, bro, where I talk about surviving a earthquake. And then when we survive an earthquake now, we be like, yeah, we just stop and be like, yeah, we ain't talking about earthquake problems anymore, bro. We ain't talking about those problems anymore, bro. We're gonna try to figure out how to survive a volcano, bro. We're gonna try to figure out how to survive a volcano eruption, bro. Actually, survive a volcano eruption, be like, yeah, we ain't talking about those stuff anymore, bro. We ain't talking about those stuff anymore. We're gonna try to survive how to survive a tornado, bro. You know, this is try to survive a tornado, be like, yeah, we ain't talking about it anymore. We ain't talking about that anymore. We're gonna try to survive a blizzard, bro. Yeah, we actually survive a blizzard now. Then it's like, oh yeah, we ain't talking about that anymore. We ain't talking about that anymore. We're gonna try to go to Mars, bro, to survive in the oh no, we're gonna try to survive in the desert now, bro. Yeah, we're actually surviving in the desert, bro. Like, yeah. We ain't talking about that anymore. We ain't talking about that anymore. We're gonna actually try to go to a different planet. Yeah. So that's basically I think the fourth year of home ownership. Where it be like these are actually so what happens is that you achieve the dream, and then what happens is that you actually were maintaining the dream for a while. You actually were maintaining the dream for a while. Then you realize that okay, yeah, we are just complaining about certain stuff in the dream for too long. So we actually have to just take our time to just stop and acknowledging what we are just complaining about, sit down and fix every single thing because all this there's a company and making money and stuff like that. So this I have to remember that this video this are making money. So what happens now is that because you're this are making money, bro, you can afford to stop and be like, okay, I'm gonna focus now to actually spend money to actually focus and get in the right trade. And be like, yeah. When we get the right way to actually break up this place and clean up the place, that solution be like, yeah, that solution solve the problem this year. And we know why, and then we actually found a reason to actually solve that problem this year. We're like, okay, this is standard now. This is standard now. We ain't going back. We ain't going back to that. We ain't going back to those days anymore. And be like, yeah, this standard are better, bro. This standard are better. We ain't going back to that year. We ain't going back there anymore, bro. Then we out there to find that better rate now. We'll be like, yeah, we ain't going back there anymore. We have to acknowledge that, yeah, we've been here. We are here now. We're always trying to clean up this place, bro. So we actually have to stop. I'll be like, stop, drop on the road. Yeah, we actually have to just stop. That yeah, the chicken problem is a problem. So that's the thing. I'll be like, yo, we leave the work or stuff like that. We have to actually recognize that we ain't getting no dog, bro. Because what? We always fighting chickens. We always thinking about getting a dog, bro. We always fighting chickens, bro. Who in the world we actually feed those chickens and those chickens actually become our issue? Like, wow. We actually have to stop. We actually have to stop and be like, yeah. I try to solve these problems now. And then when we after I stop these problems now, we'll be like, yeah, we ain't complain about this anymore, bro. Only thing we should be doing is say like, okay, we need to buy more of these stuff now. That so going forward into the fifth year or sixth year stuff like that. What we're supposed to do, we're supposed to be stop complaining about these stuff and be like, oh, we actually need to buy more of these stuff now. So when we found what we what I would actually be like, oh no, actually, no, actually, I know I love the podcast. Actually, listen to this now. So, well, one of the things that I actually realized was issues going with the stick breaking. So now I would actually go and be like, oh no, I'm actually gonna go out and buy 10 sticks now. I'm gonna buy them in bulk now. I'm gonna actually buy those sticks in bulk now. So when it breaks, all I'm gonna do is replace it until I found the right stick. And when I found the right stick now, then I can actually start buying these stuff in bulk now. Be like, okay, this is the right stick now. And we ain't talking about those rig problems. So no, so that's the thing where we like in the 40 year of home ownership. We acknowledge that yeah, this rig thing is out there, so breaking up. So when we go out in the streets, we're going out there so buy like 10 stick instead of one. So that's what we're gonna actually do. We're gonna actually go out and buy like 10 sticks to actually cut. So when we're out there on a raking journey, no bro, we ain't complaining about sticks. You're gonna just hear me say, okay, we actually clean up this place now. And it took me like 10 sticks to actually it took me 20 sticks to actually complain this doctor 26 and one iron to clean up this thing. So because of that now, instead of you going out and be like, okay, instead of you going, I'm gonna buy a rake kind of thing, be like, okay, I'm gonna buy this rake and 20 sticks. So that, and then because you buy that and 20 sticks, now I can go out and tell you, like, okay, yeah, we don't need to buy those 26 anymore. You just need to go out and buy like this one stick and this rake. And because we buy this stick and this rake now, we ain't going back to those days. We ain't going to those days no. No, everybody out there will be like, okay, no, nobody ain't buying those sticks no anymore. No, actually invest and buy those sticks now. Yeah, so that's basically. So because actually I record this episode, actually got the idea now that I'm going to actually execute. I'm gonna buy like 10 million sticks for the rake, and then go on my raking journey, bro. I rake up this darn place. So now it won't take me 37 days to clean up this darn home. It will like take me like 15 days or 10 days because I actually bought the sticks. So now, so I'm gonna actually do this. So yeah, so that's the reason for the podcast. Actually acknowledge these issues, and then the answer just came to me, bro. So now I'm gonna go out in the streets of Jamaica. I'm gonna go out in the streets and actually just go out and apply these stuff, bro. I mean, actually apply these stuff now. I'll be like, yeah, we solve that issue real quick, and then I come back and tell you like, yeah, you actually solve this stuff. So so this is the 4th year answer now. So this is the 4th year answer going forward. Is not the issue is not the fact that we actually the answer wasn't wrong. It was that we didn't have enough of the answer. We could afford enough of the answer. So that was it. That's the thing in this 4th year. We could afford enough of the answers. So we have to go in and buy enough of these answers now. Then come back and be like, yeah, this is the solution for the 4th year. So that's basically it for this episode. Thank you for listening and look forward for the next episode. Thank you for listening.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter @ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.